On this week's show, I'm talking to Marty Nachel from the Beer Story Project. That book is available now on Amazon. All that and much more coming up on this week's Beer in Front. This is Beer in Front, part of the Beer Media Group. Every week, I'll talk to people in and around the beer world and get their stories all about beer. That's Beer in Front. And it's coming up now. Welcome to episode, I think I'm in the 280s, 283, something like that, of Beer in Front. I'm your host, Dave Zalatoris, and Beer in Front is a charter member of the Beer Media Group. I got a good show this week. I'm talking to Marty Nachel. Marty's been on the show before. He's the founder and president of the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. We're going to talk about that. Also, Marty has a new book out titled The Beer Story Project. So we're going to talk about the book, the Hall of Fame. All of that's coming up like soon, in like a minute or two. You might have to listen to some news and maybe a sound effect, but you're going to hear all from Marty coming up real soon. I apologize for the podcast being out a day or so late. I'm getting ready to edit on the weekend because that's what I do. I'm off Saturday, Sunday, I edit. I record, I edit on Saturday. All of a sudden, Saturday, the internet goes out because of the cold, whatever. I got no internet. Everything's in the cloud. I can't do anything. What kind of like Stone Age Flintstone garbage is this? I'm like, what do you do? We had no internet until Monday morning, the 15th. The Comcast guy comes out to fix it. And I got to give it up to the Comcast guy because my alley, you could skate down my alley. And he was like, oh, something's bad out here. I'm going to have to go fix it. This jamoke pulls out a ladder, puts out a ladder in the ice. I mean, I'm thinking, oh, no, this is not going to end well for this poor guy at Comcast. Like, they don't pay you enough to go on a ladder on a sheet of ice to climb up to the tower, the lines and fix it, but he did. I was sweating it, but he fixed it. I've got internet, so the podcast is out a day or two later than it normally is, but big ups to Comcast for sending a guy out to put a ladder on the ice. In beer and beverage news, if you're in the Buffalo area, Bud Light is coming out with a beer made from snow at the football stadium in Buffalo. Now the football stadium's been called a million things. It was initially Rich Stadium, then all the corporate names, and I think it's Highmark now, and they're building a new stadium for next year. So this is the final season at Buffalo's stadium. And Bud Light's coming out with a beer made from purified snow that they gathered up at the Buffalo Stadium. So if you're in the Buffalo area, you could pick up that commemorative can from Bud Light. And what might be the best liquor story of 2025? I mean, we still got a few weeks left, but the raccoon in Ashland was at an ABC store, knocked over a ton of bourbon barrels, and you see this raccoon passed out in the bathroom. So I don't know if the raccoon was drinking the bourbon and whatever else he knocked over, but I'm not hating on you, raccoon. So the officers say the trash panda, the raccoon, was likely too inebriated to plot an escape. But it had a few hours of sleep and no signs of injury outside of like a hangover and poor life choices. And the raccoon is safely released back to the wild. So I need to find this raccoon. I need to have like the beer in front, like raccoon, but happy holidays to the raccoon. I hope you're feeling a little bit better, my brother. Sierra Nevada is coming out with a couple new torpedo variants of their torpedo IPA. They're going to do a dual torpedo. This is a double dry hopped double IPA. That's going to be out in 12-ounce bottles. That looks pretty decent. And they're also, and this one I'm excited about, a rye torpedo. I don't know, like, if they still have Ruthless rye out. That used to be late summer, early autumn beer that they would put out, and that was really good. I've seen it in a mix case at Costco maybe a year or two ago, but that was really good from Sierra Nevada. So I'm hoping this rye torpedo is just as good. That's going to be coming out next year. AleSmith, their Speedway Stout series is always one of my favorites. They're going to come out with a Nitro Coffee Stout next year. This is going to be called Pace Car. This is now, I don't know if this is technically a Speedway Stout, but it's a Speedway-inspired Nitro Coffee Stout. So look for that coming up from AleSmith. Three Floyds, now their deluxe lager line, that one's really good. That's one of the newer craft lager, craft macros, if you will. That one's a solid one, and they're going to come out with a lime lager. This is going to check in at 4.5%. It's a lager with natural lime flavor added. I'm sure that's going to be good. I like a good lime lager. So look for that from Three Floyds. Coronado and Maui Brewing Company, they're hooking up on a collaboration IPA. It's going to be called Momentum. This is a hibiscus IPA. I'm a huge fan of hibiscus. I hope this one finds it. No, it's Coronado and Maui. It's not getting out to me in Chicago. Somebody out west hook me up with this Momentum hibiscus IPA because that sounds really intriguing. Firestone Walker and Everywhere Beer, they're going to come out with a collaboration beer called Beauty Everywhere. It's coming out next year in 2026. This is going to be a stout with coconut, vanilla, marshmallow flavor, and certified color. But I don't know anything about Everywhere. I've never had anything from them. But if they're in cahoots with Firestone Walker, I'm sure this is going to be good. So have a look out for that coming out next year. In serious news, I don't even know where to begin with this whole deal with Sycamore Brewing out of North Carolina. I talked about it with Rod J on the Midwest Beer Show on Saturday, but this is like insane. Like the co-owner was arrested on charges of statutory rape and burglary, indecent liberties. I mean, this is just disgusting and sickening. And the owner's wife, who said that the alleged child rapist is going to divest of all of his interest and have no further involvement with the company, I just don't know. I know there's, from what I'm reading, a lot of breweries in North Carolina are just dumping them. They're done. They're not having any more of them. Some places, I guess they're going to sell them and turn all of their profits or all the money over to children's charities. I don't know. I just don't see how, like, I can't get any of their beers here. I would never drink from them. I mean, I'm sorry. There's breweries I've talked about before. I just do not. I don't consume their products for various reasons, and this would be one that I just can't. I mean, we'll have to see how it shakes out, but it's just disgusting. And, you know, you just pray for this child. I mean, it's just disgusting. Pabst Blue Ribbon. Now, they have cut some jobs. There's a restructuring going on with layoffs. And now there's a class action complaint that's filed against them, and they're alleging that there's been a failure to file a warn notice, which, as a labor person, I understand this. So hopefully if they fail to do this, they get taken to the cleaners by this, but not cool from Pabst. The Brewers Association came out with their 2025 year in beer, and right now, as of I'm recording this on Monday night, December 15th, we have 9,778 breweries here in the United States. The number stayed about the same for the last couple of years. The craft beer industry has over 443,000 jobs. That's helping out local economy, creating opportunities, and the craft beer contribution to the United States economy is over $72 billion. Some of the things that they mentioned that, there's new approaches with tap rooms about hospitality. Consumers are seeking out different opportunities to connect with people, and breweries are kind of like trying to lean into that. I talked about it with Rod J. Different food options, different beer options, different beverage types. Whatever breweries have to do to try to get people in, they're going to do it. Something else is like not just the NA beer segment, but there's a lower alcohol segment where beers that are under 4%. So brewers are trying to get more people to call for craft beer, but without the buzz of your Imperial IPA. So I'm hoping to get somebody on from the Brewers Association next month in January. We'll talk more about this. And right now everybody's coming out with the year in review and the year end stuff. So I hope to get more of this in the next couple of weeks. All right, welcome back. Today's guest is one of the true originals of American beer education, Marty Nachel. Marty is an award-winning author, longtime beer educator, and certified beer judge who has spent more than 30 years helping people understand and appreciate beer. Marty has a new book out now titled The Beer Story Project, available now for any beer lover on your holiday gift list. Marty brings a wealth of knowledge and a down-to-earth passion that makes beer accessible to anyone. Marty, thanks so much for coming on and chat today.
Dave, glad to be here. Thank you very much for having me on.
Oh, anytime. You're always welcome here. What is the Beer Story Project, and how did it come about?
It's funny. When I was deciding how to title the book, I had about a half a dozen different ideas in my head. And when it came down to it, I said, just name it what it is. It's the Beer Story Project. And so to explain, I solicited beer stories from a lot of different people, over 100, throughout the American craft beer industry. I just wanted people to tell fun and interesting and poignant stories, whatever stories they had to tell, to share with the whoever's interested, which I assume, I'm hoping a lot of people are interested. We are now close to 50 years into the American craft beer industry, and I figured there's a whole lot of stories out there. And I've actually had face-to-face conversations with people who told me their stories. That's kind of how this started. I thought, somebody has to write these down. Somebody has to capture them, put them together, and share them with the world. And that's kind of how this started.
And it's like you mentioned that, and obviously we're more invested in beer than like the casual drinker, but beer is so much more than the liquid in the glass. It's the people, it's the stories that make it what it is.
Absolutely. That's really been a foundation of American craft beer. When the first breweries were coming on the scene, what made them unique, not just their size, they were tiny, of course, and they made great beer, but it was the stories. It was how these breweries came about, how they got the names for the brewing, how they got the names for the beer, and how family members got involved and friends got involved, and that's where a lot of these stories emanate from.
Yeah. Who are some of the people that are featured in the book?
Well, there are actual, people, recognizable names like Sam Calagione and Mitch Steele and Pete Schlossberg. But there's also people who are on the writing end of things, Jay Brooks and Tom Bedell and Tom Acitelli. Those aren't exactly household names, but if you look into craft beer writing over the several decades, these people have been around. They know what the industry is about.
Is doing something like a book of this nature more of a challenge to you as a writer, where the stories aren't your own? You're not creating the narrative, it's other people.
It's funny. It kind of, there's the good side and the bad side. The good side is I'm not doing all the writing. So I'm tapping into these other people to do the writing for me. I still have to do the editing, which in some cases was pretty intense. It's not just grammar and punctuation. Yeah. I had somebody turn in a 12-page story, and I had to cut that in about half.
Yeah.
But from the that is kind of the bad side, that I didn't have control over anything. I didn't put parameters on anybody. I didn't say, I want you to write this, or I want you to write it this way." I said, "Tell me your story. Pretend that we're sitting at a bar. Tell me your story, and in turn, tell the reader your story
Yeah.
through me, I guess."
Mhm. Now, where can people pick up the Beer Story Project?
It's relatively limited in that, I self-published, and it's on Amazon. So right now, Amazon is the only place it can be found, for good or for bad.
I'll include the link in the show notes. You could get it. This is going to be coming out a couple weeks or a week and a half before Christmas or the holiday season. So you'll be able to get that and have it in your stocking or someone's stocking by the holiday. Like in travel all over the place. I know you were in Greece last year, I believe, and other spots. In your travels, are the stories different than like what you would see here? Or how is the craft beer scene around the world different than here in the States?
Well, first of all, I would love to say that I'm tapped in, so to speak, into the craft beer industries in other countries. Obviously, I'm not as involved or in tune with the craft beer scenes in other countries. I make the effort to try to get there, but it's not always as easy to make the contacts and to have personal interviews. So I'm not really necessarily having one-on-ones with
Okay.
folks in the craft beer industries in other countries. I go to the breweries, I taste the beers, I do what a good consumer and writer
Yeah.
should do. I don't really necessarily know the backstories in other countries as well as I do here in the US. But, I can tell you from what I do know with contacts elsewhere is that the craft beer industries in other countries, there's no question about it, they are they're inspired by what has taken place here in the US. So there's that. I mean, I can say that without question, that I hear similar stories that, "Well, hey, look what they did in the United States. They're brewing all these great beers. Why can't we do that?" And in most cases, they have and are doing that, and doing a very good job, I might add.
We were talking on social media a month or so ago. My wife brought me back this beer from Peru. She was there on vacation, and the brewery happened to be at Fobab. But the two
Mm,
beers that she
yeah.
brought me were phenomenal. Like maybe it's just ignorance, American ignorance, but you don't expect like that. But both beers, it was a regular pale ale and this double IPA, and they were both phenomenal, as well as that one they poured at Fobab.
Yeah, it's funny because when you take a look back over the history of American craft beer, there was a learning curve. It took a while for American brewers, even though from the start they were making beer that was better than, let's say, Anheuser-Busch or Miller. Uh, but there was a learning curve. A lot of brewers had to make the mistakes for others to learn from. Well, brewers in other countries have, as well as American brewers who are just now opening up, they have the benefit of looking at what worked and what didn't. So they are standing on the shoulders of giants, in my opinion. They were able to cut straight to the chase and make pretty damn good beer right out of the gate because they learned from the mistakes of others.
Yeah, they know not necessarily what sells, but if you know beer X is been a top seller, you could try to do something along those lines, and it's going to be, yeah, much better than just, as a former home brewer myself, I could tell you the first things I tried were horrible. So yeah, it's nice to learn from others.
I was there with you. I made
Yeah.
my mistakes as well.
I remember the first one was, infected. It's like, I don't know why I kept doing it, but luckily, you just kept doing it and you improve.
And that's the way to improve too.
Yeah. Now you're
Repetition.
Yeah, just keep doing it. You're also the founder and president of the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame and recently announced the nominees for 2026. Who might be getting the call in February of those nominees? Or can you list the nominees for people?
Well, I wish that my memory was
Yeah.
better. I can name most of them. I'm not sure. I'm probably gonna leave somebody out. Mitch Steele, Ray Daniels, Terry Ferendorf, Charlie Bamforth, P. Sosberg. Did I say him yet?
Eat, yep.
Larry Bell, Sam Calagione, and Carol
Carol.
Stout
Yeah.
and Kim Jordan. Did I get them all?
Yeah, you did. I have the list
There
right
you
here
are.
in front of me. Yes. All, phenomenal names, all worthy. So probably at one point, between now and in years past, I'm sure all of these fine folks are going to get in. How did you guys come up with this list of nominees?
Well, the structure of the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame, it's not just me and a couple of guys sitting around a table drinking beer. We have structure. We have our board of directors. There are five of us on the board. We have a group called the board of advisors. They're about currently about 45 people. And then we have our electors, another 40 to 50 people. It's kind of the numbers are changing, but we're not operating in a small room. We have a lot of people out there working with us. We're all volunteers, but we solicited lists of nominees from our advisors, and that list was pretty extensive. Yeah, I think there were over 70 names on that list, and we had to winnow it down to a more manageable number, which came out to the 10 that are currently on the ballot. And that worked out simply by numbers, by percentages, who got the most recommendations, the most nominations, I should say, and that's how we get the 10 we currently have. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
And then the voters vote on those 10. And then what was it? I forget the date in February. When are they
It's
going to be announced?
We are going to be announcing in our online ceremony on February 28th. It's a Saturday.
Okay.
It'll be afternoon for most people.
Yeah, excellent. So definitely, and I'll include the link there. And as we get closer to the date, but yeah, I'll definitely be watching to see, who gets elected this year to the Hall of Fame. One new thing that you have that I thought was pretty cool, I saw a couple weeks ago that you have landmark craft beers and I mean, I could never disagree. These five beers are definitely stellar. You have Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale, Samuel Adams Boston Lager, Celis White, and then two from Anchor Steam Beer and Anchor Liberty Ale, which all five of those definitely, if I had to pick five, I would probably come up with the same five.
I'll be honest with you. The idea of having a landmark beers election, if you want to call it that, that was kind of an afterthought to the Hall of Fame. We realized we went into this with the intention of recognizing the people behind the industry, but several months in, we realized that hey, we're kind of missing something here. It's also about the beer. We need to recognize the beer, so we came up with the whatever you want to call it, the term, the landmark beers, to shine a spotlight on those beers that have affected the entire industry, those that were early examples of phenomenal styles and some of them uniquely American styles. And so we operate kind of opposite ends of the calendar where we are electing people into the hall in February. We're electing the landmark beers in August.
I mean, each of them, I'm just looking at the list again, how these beer, and some of them are still around, like Sierra Nevada and Samuel Adams. I'm not sure about the Celis White. I know the daughter was involved. I don't know if she wound up selling or not, but I know in the Austin area, you could probably still get Celis White.
As a matter of fact, I was just in Austin back in September. My wife and I ran down there, and that was number one brewery on my list. I had to go to Celis. The unfortunate thing is, I did a little poking and prodding and asking questions while I was there. Uh, Christine Celis, the daughter of Pierre, did actually sell off the company, I think about 2 years ago. So she no longer has hands in on the direction of the company. But I'm very happy to say that the brewery still, for lack of a better term, let's say it the way I felt it, it still had the spirit of Pierre there. And I felt him, a lot of his original beers were there, including Celis White, which I'm happy to report is still as good as it ever was. It's no longer in the hands of the Celis family, unfortunately, but they're doing his his legacy good, and I feel good about that, and I'm happy to report that that's the case.
Yeah, I remember, you were mentioning that was your one place to go to. It was the same with me. My wife and I went there, probably 2018, 2019. I'm like, this is the one place I have to go to when we're in Austin. Yeah.
Right. It's almost like the holy grail for beer geeks like us.
Yeah, it's like, oh, and you just sit there and it's like, yes, I agree 100%. But yeah, like Anchor Liberty Yale and Anchor Steam, obviously, hopefully they'll come back. Who knows what's going on with that story? But yeah, Anchor Liberty, I mean, that was such a great, iconic IPA. And, for many people, along with Sierra Nevada, was the first time that people tasted like these hops.
Exactly, yes. Liberty Ale doesn't get the credit that it deserves. It was the first IPA without being called an IPA.
Mhm.
So, it was the forerunner to what we now call IPA.
So you travel all over the world, you travel around the country judging beer, you're an educator. What trips do you have here lined up? I know we were talking before we recorded. It's too cold to stay in Chicago, Marty.
Well, I wish I had done better planning. I don't have anything in the immediate future. However, I'm not ruling out the possibility of going down to Peru in February to do some judging down there. Not confirmed yet, but it's on my radar. We do have a confirmed trip with we're actually taking a group of our local homebrew club members. There's about 19 or 20 of us who are going on a guided tour. We're going to Belgium, Germany, and the Czech Republic, and we're going to be hitting some of the most famous beer places there are in those three countries. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. I've been to two of those countries. I haven't been in the Czech Republic yet, and I've been to some of these iconic breweries, but to be able to revisit them 20 years later and bring a bunch of other people, this is phenomenal. This is a high point in my beer career. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, to get a Czech pills in the Czech Republic. I mean, what could be
Exactly. Yeah.
better than that? Yeah.
Yep. And a smoke beer in Bamberg. I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. In addition to Belgium, I know
Sure.
talking to a lot of the brewers there, I was at this festival in Denver in June, and it was, I think, in the United States, the largest gathering of Belgian brewers. It was the Belgian Import Festival, and
Mm.
all of these brewers and people from the brewery were there, and it was like so cool to talk to them and obviously try their beers. Yeah.
Nothing better.
Well, what else do you have lined up? Any other books you're working on or projects people should know about?
Well, first of all, I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, I'm happy to say I'm open to the possibility of the even though this book has just come out,
Yeah.
I'm open to the possibility that there will be a volume two simply because I had some people who submitted stories past the deadline. I felt really bad about that, but I did have a deadline and I have these stories set aside, and I told them, "Sit tight, they may still see print, in 2026." So there's that, and the possibility of, I'm trying to reimagine this concept. It's the same concept of getting people to write their beer stories, but I really wanna open it up to, the international community. Over the years, having judged in other on other continents in different countries, I do have a fair number of contacts in all these other countries, and I'm considering the possibility of making it an international beer story concept. So hopeful for that. I also see the possibility of tapping into the homebrew community. I know as a home brewer, and you being a home brewer as well, I'm sure you have stories. I know I have stories, and I know plenty of other homebrewers who have their own stories. I think that has the possibility of a good book as well. So all these things are on the back burner, just on a simmer, and we'll see where it goes.
All right. Well, whatever you're going to put out, Marty, I will definitely pick it up and buy it. I thank you so much for coming on this morning. Once again, the title of the book is The Beer Story Project. I'm going to include the link in the show notes for you to pick it up for yourself. Marty has that right there in his hands. Also, check out the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. And I'm going to need to buy that shirt, Marty. So we'll have to talk. I need that shirt. But definitely check out the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. You could watch on YouTube in February the live announcement of who gets in for 2026. Marty, thank you for coming on. Have a great holiday season, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, David. I appreciate your time, and happy holidays to you and your family.
All right, the beer that's in front of me right now is a classic from Chicago. This is Fistmas from Revolution. This is their holiday beer. It's a red ale with ginger and orange peel. Checks in at 6.5% alcohol, according to the can. Full festive flavors for jolly, joyful jingles. There you go. I mean, how can you go wrong with that? Who doesn't like jolly, joyful jingles? So let's crack this one open from Revolution. Fistmas is a beautiful color, nice reddish color, good foam on this, good. Got a nice pair of khaki Dockers color foam on this bad boy. Smells great. Smells, I'm really getting all of like the spices here. I get like the ginger out of this. I get a little of the orange, but smell is the holiday season right here in a glass. That tastes really good. I get the ginger there. The orange is a little faint, but I just poured it, so maybe upon further drinking, the orange will come out a little bit more. Nice little bitterness there. I'm not sure if that's from the hops or from the ginger, but I do get some bitterness. I think it's just really good. It's just a staple this time of year, especially if you're in the Chicago area. You could pick this up all over. You can get it at Rev. Obviously, you could also pick it up everywhere, your liquor stores, grocery stores, all that. So if you see Fistmas from Revolution, you know what to do. You got to put it in the cart. It's a great beer for this time of year. You got to grab it. All right, that's going to wrap things up for this edition of Beer in Front. I thank you very much for listening. Once again, I want to thank Marty Nachel for coming on and talking about his new book, The Beer Story Project. You can pick that up on Amazon now, just in time for the holiday season. You could also check out the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. So thank you to Marty for coming on. Have a great week, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. And remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet.